everybody, and welcome to the State of the Orlando Market. I am going to be your host today. I'm Shannon Everhart, and I'm so glad to have you guys with us. And we have quite an hour ahead for you guys, and I'm not alone. I'm being joined by some other wonderful people who I'd like to introduce you to. You'll get to hear my voice a little bit, but I'm actually going to turn it over to our panel here in just a few seconds so that you can meet these amazing women in the commercial real estate space that are going to help you guys. The focus today is on growing, on adding an important investment to your portfolio, possibly the do's and don'ts. We've got some really important questions that we want to answer on today's call. So let's get it started. Let's start by introducing you guys to our wonderful panelists. We're going to start. I'm going to switch my camera up here. And we're going to start by saying hello to these lovely ladies. Hello. Hi. And we are I'm going to move this guy out of the way. Yes, no?
Yes. Oh, we have some coffee.
I mean, this is a working lunch, everybody. And these three ladies here, we're going to start by saying thank you to Amy Calandrino, who is hosting us in your space today. We happen to be at
How did you know?
It's your space. I know it. And so that's what I was going to let everybody know. We're here at the Beyond Commercial space here, which is a great place for us to meet and collaborate. We are not just business friends, we're friends. So we get to hang out and have a little bit of lunch today and help who's on the call today with what's going on in their world with their small business. Amy Calandrino, please introduce yourself to everybody so that they know who you are.
Yeah, so I'm Amy Calandrino. I'm founder of Beyond Commercial. We've been in existence for over a decade. I found for my family small business that there really wasn't a lot of customized commercial real estate assistance for, the small outfits. It was all for the big dogs, in the market. And so I really wanted to create a commercial real estate firm that focused on the needs of small business owners and but had the same tools as the big brokerages, just right sized for those that I'm most passionate about.
And to your right, is that our left? I don't know. Charlene Hotelling.
Hi, everyone. I'm Charlene Hotelling. I'm with Seacoast Bank, and I have the privilege of being a commercial banker with Seacoast. And what that means is I get to work with small businesses to help them achieve their dreams, whether it's to buy real estate, to buy equipment, to figure out how they're going to manage their finances. And I get the pleasure to do that every single day.
Wonderful. And Dana Richmond, our financial advisor in the room.
Yes. Hello, everybody. My name is Dana. I'm a financial advisor with Evershore Financial Group, and we are in Maitland. And while we do work with individuals, we also love to work with small business owners. So thank you for being here, and I'm so happy to be here too.
So I might accidentally, I hope I don't, say this word over and over again, powerhouse. This is a powerhouse panel. Now there is a couple other people that, probably should be around the table for this conversation right now, but this is a great group to start with. The other people that you might want to have kind of in your corner or at the table around this conversation might be your CPA or your attorney. But since we don't have those people we don't need them. We're going to start with you guys because this is where all the action really starts. We're going to need them eventually, but this is where all the fun beginning action really starts, is with the three of you ladies and what you guys bring to the table. We want to make sure that we cover the three topics that we have on today's call, ladies. We're going to start by talking really quick, if you don't mind, just giving us an outlook as to what the market is doing right now. But today we want to make sure that we talk about what is going on with the market. Is it cooling? Is it not? Is it the right time? Is it not? We want to talk about rates and whether or not that is going to stabilize. And finally, what your portfolio should look like as well, and how you should position that possibly. Before we get into all of that, let's kind of zoom out 30,000 feet and just talk a little bit about what is going on in the market. I'm going to start with you, Charlene, if you don't mind. Or actually, I'm going to start with you, Amy. Just talk to us a little bit about the office market in general, what you're seeing out there, what you're feeling.
Yeah, so, well, and let's not forget to introduce you.
Let's thank you. Okay,
yes,
I should go to the other camera then, huh?
Right.
Hi, everybody. Thank you. My name is Shannon Everhart. I'm with a company called Grow or Die, which is pretty self-explanatory. I work with small business owners leaders who are looking to grow their companies. And my superpower, what I like to say is that I typically, as an outsider looking in, come into your business and I get to see what you guys may not be seeing and hear what you guys are not hearing in order for you to grow. There's usually some things that are just kind of from a process and systems place that could be tightened up a little bit. And I'm here to help so that we can get on the path of growing and growing consistently. So thank you for that. Yes.
Yes, absolutely.
So yeah, let's get back to our topic. What is going on in the marketplace? What are you seeing right now?
So at this point, cap rates are still compressing, which has an inverse relationship, on the price of real estate. Rents are also climbing, which, as a general rule, depending on the type of leases, means that the income is climbing for owners. Right now, rents are actually up on average for the Orlando office market, which would include, some of Seminole County, Osceola County, all of Orange County, but they're up about 3.1% over the last 12 months. There was a period of time of contraction with the coronavirus, but since then, we're seeing a lot of 3-5 year leases and even longer. And we will get into some of the specific submarkets later, but that's just an overview of the Orlando market as a whole.
Now, since this is not my area, you guys are the powerhouses when it comes to the commercial market right now, commercial real estate market. Help me though, if you don't mind, because there might be a couple others on the call that are coming at this with a little bit of the same mindset. The residential side of the business of the real estate world and the commercial side, do those coincide? Do they really, do they dovetail each other, or are they kind of two separate entities? Do they have any kind of overlap in their behaviors? Certainly, maybe you can help us out a little bit with that.
Sure. So in terms of do they overlap in their behaviors? Sometimes they do. It really just depends on what's trending in the market at that time. In terms of interest rates, they do not. Interest rates are very different for commercial versus residential. But I will tell you that, as businesses continue to move into the areas, they also continue to move their employees into the area. So it does have an impact to the residential market with all of these new businesses we have coming into the area. And I think some of our residential lenders on the webinar with us today can agree with that. But we are seeing a lot in terms of rates bouncing all over the place, both in the residential field and in the commercial field, just because of what's happening with the market today.
It's a fun time to be in this industry.
Yeah. Don't look at you forward.
Yes, let's not go there. Let's not go there. Wonderful. I think that's a great place, kind of, again, from 30,000 feet to get us started. But let's get into the topic that brings us all together, which brings everybody on the call today. And start with what's going on with the market, if it's cooling or not. What do we do if it's cooling? What are you, Amy, I'm gonna head over to you in terms of working with your clients right now. When it comes to leasing versus buying, what kind of advice are you doling out to your customers right now, to your clients right now?
Well, first of all, it really depends on what phase they are in their business, whether they are a startup or maybe someone that's been in business for a long time. But if it's an established business and they have a pretty good idea of where they are as far as their space needs are concerned and where they're going, I would seriously consider still buying, because, if you're looking at, let's just say a 5,000 square foot user, and let's say they're an attorney and they like to be in that nice Class A office space downtown, they may be looking at, in some of these buildings, $35 a square foot, which is, a record high. And, they have 15 people, let's say, in their office, then they're looking at $25,000 a year just to park those people there. And then, by the time you've paid rent over a 5-year deal, you've spent almost $900,000, to someone else, versus, let's just say you get a really nice building, which there is economies of scale. If you're looking at a 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 square foot building, the price per square foot tends to be higher. But then when you're more like 5,000 to 10,000 square feet, it can get a little cheaper per square foot. But let's just say $300 a square foot for that particular business owner, that would be $1.5 million. And if you put 15% down, then you'd be looking at a mortgage, which would include your property tax and your insurance, of, let's just say, a little over $8,000 a month at today's interest rates. And don't hold me to it. Of course, you got to go through underwriting and get this locked in, but you're looking at almost $15,000 a month in rent versus just over $8,000 a month to buy. And then, of course, you are paying into an asset that you own. And not only that, you're building your business, generating money there. And then you're also taking the money that you pay to someone else or their family and putting it into that building. Now, if you are a startup, because of where rental rates are, I may look at some other, strategies of perhaps not be in the central business core and look at something that would function well for your team. So it's really on a case by case basis, but as in a general sense, buying still very much makes sense.
And are you seeing anything special within the Orlando area? Are there some areas of Orlando that are just unique and have some cool things happening right now? It looks like that is a yes.
Yeah, there are some areas that are growing. You have Winter Park, which has always been very desirable. You have Winter Garden, and actually surprisingly St. Cloud. St. Cloud's office market has less than 1% vacancy. There is like no office there.
Wow.
So usually what happens is rooftops lead, and then in commercial development, you have retail, pouring in, which of course you've seen that filling in, basically Lake Nona and St. Cloud are kind of converging, just like you used to see with Winter Garden and Claremont. And then next would come the office development and then the industrial development, but office has not kept up in St. Cloud. And so they're actually at less than 1% vacancy. And in Winter Garden, you're about 3% vacancy. And in Winter Park, less than 3% vacancy, 2.7%. So there are definitely some hot, spots where, for instance, if executives are coming in from some of these companies that are relocating here to Orlando and taking up big blocks of office, generally you're going to see them moving into Lake Nona, Winter Park, and, some of those areas. So that could affect things.
But there's definitely some cool opportunities in some of the other outlying areas like Winter Garden. That's great.
Yeah.
Charlene, are you hearing similar stories and seeing similar things happening in the?
I am, and I can tell you, it was very unexpected considering how many people went to a work from home status, right? So vacancy rates being where they are today, really surprising that people are still continuing to look for space and there's still such a shortage, because while everybody's working from home, there are a lot of people going back to the office and working back at the office. In addition to that, what I'm seeing a lot of companies relocating down here to Central Florida. And so with that, they're looking for areas that are desirable for their employees to live so that the commutes can be shorter and easier for them to get to and from the office, and make it more appealing so that they can bring the right people along with them when they move down here. So yeah, I'm seeing very similar. I think a lot also of what I'm seeing is a lot of people are looking for land so that they can build. We're looking for, larger pieces of land that maybe have a smaller, possibly dilapidated building on it that they can tear down and rebuild. There's a big desire for that right now. You wouldn't know that there's a shortage in construction materials, but there's a big desire for that right now as well because of the low vacancy rates.
Mm-hmm.
There's not a lot out there right now.
Well, I think a lot of people may want to build too because of the amount of investment that would have to go into an office space to kind of retrofit it to what is needed today. You had that whole densification trend about 10 years ago where everybody wanted to have these little offices and collaboration, but which everyone kind of learned was a little bit too much of a distraction. Then coronavirus hit and, everybody wanted to be spaced apart from each other. And now you have people that want to be able to come in and you are having a little bit more open space, but then spaced out. And so it's just really interesting construction trends where, you're having to kind of retrofit these spaces to fit office as a recruitment tool. You want it to be an area where it's buzzing. You don't want to take someone that just graduated from college and has been having such a great time at college, and all of a sudden you're like, you're just gonna go work from home. So they are wanting to come in, but perhaps have a hybrid environment. So I think office is still here to, stay and to be used, but they're just having to rework how the office is for people to interact and have business happen.
Yeah, I mean, the office space and the location can absolutely be a benefit and a perk to the company's portfolio of what they offer to their employees. But there is pros and cons to that, having a turnkey solution for them or doing this build out. And I know that there are sometimes you, as a small business owner, you fall in love with an area, maybe a location, but the office space is old and antiquated. And so what are the pros and cons of going down the path of building something out versus really being committed to finding something that's turnkey?
Well, with vacancy rates where they're at and the demand on office space right now, since you have all the pent up demand from the coronavirus, you have people who have expiring leases and maybe they're expanding, and landlords aren't giving away like really any deals, and a lot of the sublease inventory has been gobbled up. That combined with the fact that you don't have economies of scale for small businesses. So, that's my primary expertise. And so when you're looking at a 5,000 square foot user, maybe to go take and retrofit a space, you might be looking at like $100 a square foot. Is the owner going to pay $500,000 into your 5,000 square foot space? No, they're going to give you a little bit of that, but then do you want to come out of pocket and raise your investment even more? And so just to be like aware, what I'm recommending to a lot of business owners is to kind of run both buy and lease at the same time, since there's such little inventory in both buying and in leasing.
You mentioned subleasing, which I know there are several companies that are doing right now, but is that really a thing? Are you guys seeing that coming across your desks? People that are looking for the sublease opportunities?
There was a tsunami of subleases. So I think everybody freaked out when coronavirus hit, and they're like, we're not using our office, we're going to work from home, so let's give up the space, we're going to lease it. So for those of you who don't know what a sublease is, it's when someone has a lease and no longer wants to use the lease and they want to give the lease to someone else. And so there was a tsunami of that, and they had a record level, the highest level that's ever been recorded since they've been keeping track of it. However, when you are now looking in the market, there are not as many of those opportunities. A great percentage of those opportunities have been gobbled up by people either relocating here, expanding businesses, and so seeing a lot more direct deals needing to be done with the owners, especially if these leases don't have much term left on them.
So I think that we've done a good job kind of taking a look at the Orlando market as a whole. Let's zero in, if you guys don't mind, because it's, kind of where business, quote unquote, is done, the downtown sector. What's happening down there these days, Amy, when it comes to the demand of the downtown market?
So the downtown office, the vacancy rate is still higher than the average for the Orlando core, but as far as rates are concerned, it's below 10%. And many of the Class A office buildings are in excess of $30 per square foot for the space. Some of the new projects, like for instance, the Edge, they're quoting $40 or more for that office space. So rents are at all-time level, and where landlords were willing to kind of give space away because nobody was doing deals in 2020 and the first half of 2021, there's just been kind of a reversal of that, and there's great demand. So Central Business District is coming back significantly.
And the restaurants are opening, and the social life, if you will, which is an attractive for companies looking to provide a cool experience for their employees. It's definitely got some of those things, and they're coming back online, which is great to see, of course. So I've learned a lot hanging out with the three of you ladies on what you do. And there's this fun term that you guys throw around Florida being a unicorn. What the heck does that mean? Charlene, you're probably the best person to go to for that. Is Florida a unicorn?
Well,
What do you mean by that?
as a Florida native, I would absolutely agree with that statement.
We are
Yes,
special,
Florida
yes,
is a
we
unicorn.
are.
But I think what we're seeing a lot of is you've got a lot of businesses relocating from California, from New York. They're bringing their employees down here. It's cheaper to live here. It's cheaper to run a business here. There's still, even though we talked about vacancy rates being where they are, there's still space here for businesses to come. I know one business in particular that came here about 2.5, 3 years ago, and they relocated from a state where their employees who make 6 figures a year had to live over an hour away from where the office was because they couldn't afford to find housing anywhere around them. So, fortunately, even though the residential market is wacky, it's the best term I can use for it, it's still affordable for most professional folks that are moving to the area. So yeah, I do definitely think it's a unicorn. I think there's a lot of resources in the state of Florida available for small businesses. I think, even the last 2 years have really proven that Florida can rebound and come back from something as tragic and awful as the pandemic we all just lived through. So yeah, in short answer, I do think Florida is a unicorn, especially for small business.
And then I would think too that Central Florida is like, man, I've never heard this one, but it's super unicorn status. I just made that up. It's a super unicorn.
And anybody here, feel free to use the tweet, hashtag super
I just
unicorn
trademarked
status.
Yeah, love
Yeah.
Hey, see, I'm learning so much with you ladies. So it's Central Florida specifically, obviously has some just natural attractions are attractive to our out of town new residents and new companies. But I think Central Florida specifically is kind of got a nice pop of attraction right now too.
Well, and I think, with all of the technology hubs that are coming to Central Florida, right? We're really becoming the main destination for a lot of these technology hubs to relocate into. And, there's a lot of opportunity for import export in the state of Florida where, a lot of states, they just don't have that available to them. So, theme parks aside, I think, our state really doesn't get recognized for really truly the entrepreneurship
Mhm.
and the innovative technology that we have coming to the state. I think, we eventually one day, I hope Florida is recognized really for the true business light that we have here in our community.
Actually, the Orlando Chamber of Commerce right now has a huge social media trend going on just to show the other sides of Orlando and how much business and commerce is done here outside of, the theme parks. But, we could spend a lot of time, but, if anyone wants to check out my blog, we could on beyondcommercial.com, we talk about Terminal C. That's been added
Nice
to,
to be over
really
there.
being,
Mhm.
opening up
Orlando
soon,
Airport.
and we have Brightline and so many different things that make Central Florida really attractive, and that has been helping Orlando to perform at such a robust level in the commercial real estate market.
Super fun things to look forward to, more construction. Will I-4 be complete in time? But no, really, I've grown up here my whole life too, and I was just pointing out the other day to my own child, like that used to not be there, and in the Dr. Phillips area, and just to see how much some things have grown and continue to pop up, it's really remarkable. Especially with what we talked about around building. It's not even it's the shipping too. It's the materials themselves, getting those produced, but then the shipping of it too. It's a lot going on. So it's pretty remarkable how much we are growing. For sure. All right, let's switch topics. Let's make sure that we get what we promised these wonderful people on the line with us today. Let's talk about and Charlene, I'm pretty sure I told you to bring your magic 8-ball and your crystal ball. Did you pack those with you today?
Yeah, I left it in the car. I didn't
That's a
want anybody
small
to
purse.
take it.
That small purse is not going to fit a crystal ball. And if you left your crystal ball in the car, it is burning up right now. Be careful touching that.
Just like the market.
But I am going to ask you to, with your expertise, with your background,
Sure.
A lifetime of background in banking specifically, when are the rates going to stay? Are they going to stabilize? What's going on with the rates?
So in short answer, it's going to be a while until we see rates stabilize. I fully expect there to be a couple more rate hikes this year.
Really?
Quite frankly,
Okay.
the Treasury yield curve has been all over the place. The short-term yield curve is up about 130 basis points. The long-term yield curve is up about 180 basis points, which is how commercial rates are typically dictated. So in short answer, I think it's going to be a little while until we see some stabilization. And a lot of it has to do with being able to manage inflation, right? So as long as consumer spending is at an all-time high, then they can continue to increase rates. People aren't feeling the impact of the interest rate on their credit card just yet because it's been so low for so long. And now rates are starting to move back up.
And so from going to switch over to our financial side of the table here with Dana.
Dana gets some love now.
Yay. She's really not this quiet in real life.
Shockingly the opposite.
Yes. You're doing
But
so
I'm
well.
also a good listener. I'm a good listener.
I imagine this is something that you're constantly dealing with too. Do we have, as a people, with the concern over rates, and I say concern, but really it is a matter of like anxiety and fear, I imagine. that drives that concern. Does that make us afraid of making decisions and not trusting ourselves? Or how does that translate into your world?
Yeah, I mean, I think we like to think that as small business owners, we are superheroes, and we are, right? We wear capes as small business owners, but we're also people. We're individuals that need to pay our own mortgages and save for our own retirement, not just the health of our business. And what we're finding right now, where the market is quite volatile, we've been on a little bit of our own roller coaster in the financial world, is that we get some tunnel vision. And it's so easy to understand why that happens, especially, you know, with everything sensationalized in our world right now. But we really just have to focus on the long game. And as a small business owner, you have your business plan. Just because the market is doing something crazy, we don't change the plan, right?
Yeah.
We stay focused on the long game, and we make sure we zoom out so that we're not just looking at 1 month or 5 months or whatever it is, but we really gotta keep our eyes on the high level. So yeah, we totally can get scared because we're human, and it's okay. Focus on a long game.
So one of the best pieces of advice is to have accurate information in front of you before you're making these big decisions. When it comes to calming your clients down, what's the advice around making those decisions around facts? How do they get those facts?
So definitely building your team. I mean, we can't be all around your tables right now, but we're around this table.
Yeah.
And we're here to kind of show you that as small business owners, you need your team around you. You got into business to do whatever you're doing because you believe in that work. But that's not necessarily because you went to school for 10 years studying business and finance and lending and commercial real estate, right? So you got to build out your team, and that's how you grow confident. You also remember the basics, right? We buy low, we sell high. We don't do anything crazy just because something's hitting the fan.
Right.
Stay calm and seek out your team.
Yeah. And I love the symbolism of you guys being around the table, because this really is what it should look like. Obviously, there's a couple other people, like we mentioned before, that you probably should want at the table in short order as well, in due time. But this is the place to start, is to have the right people in your corner, on your team. It's never too early, probably. Get help to be smart,
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I've even seen just today, at one point Amy threw it over to Charlie. You guys really do kind of overlap, your areas of expertise overlap. And so having all three of these principles at your table should bring a lot of confidence to you.
Because these type of professional relationships often happen with small business owners, we each know enough to be dangerous about the other's seat at the table, but our expertise very clearly ends at a certain point. And if somebody hasn't already built out that next professional relationship, that's definitely where the other is going to be encouraging, hey, okay, we're batting outside of my league here. That's where we need to bring, your commercial real estate advisor. You need to bring Amy in. We need to go seek out Charlene or your banker and bring them into this conversation.
So let's get back to banking a little bit. With interest rates right now, and typically what we see are the residential rates that are published. And we talked already how really these two areas don't, they talk to each other, but they really do exist separately. How are the rates on the commercial side determined, Charlene?
So typically the 10-year treasury yield are what the bank will base it off of. So you'll typically see probably 3 to 4 points over whatever the 10-year treasury yield is. Really depends on the size of the commercial bank that you're working with. The smaller privately held banks, sometimes, not always, will typically have a little higher interest rates because that's really how they make their money. And your larger banks that are doing a lot more loans, putting a lot more money out on the street, can get a little bit more competitive. Not always the case, but very often that is the case. your terms on commercial real estate mortgages are also very different than residential because the banks keep the loans. The banks hold the loans on their books. If you're working with your banker is going to be in touch with you to talk about your loan, where it is today, what your rate is. Should you keep your rate where it is? Is there an opportunity to modify the rate or go ahead and renew my existing commercial loan? So those are conversations that take place after you've secured that commercial loan for your business. And those conversations should be ongoing as the market changes, right? As interest rates fall or rise, you should continue to have those conversations with your bankers because the banks do keep those and they keep them on their books.
So how does risk factor in too? I mean, I'm sure that was a lot of mixed into that, but.
Sure. So risk is a big factor. You know, the bank's we're gonna rate price things based on however risky it is that we're lending, right? So for owner occupied real estate, you're typically gonna get a much better rate because your business owners are gonna pay their rents. They're gonna pay themselves rents to be able to pay their mortgage. But your investment properties, those are a lot riskier. Those are properties that a lot of times, if the property owner can't get a tenant into the building and they can't pay the mortgage on the building, it's not as painful to let it go as it would be for a small business owner. So reflecting back in 2008 and 2009, I had quite a few clients that were real estate rich and cash poor because they put all of their cash into their real estate rather than financing it and keeping cash in the bank.
I believe that's called burying it in the dirt.
Pretty much.
If I'm learning properly.
That's exactly what
The
I told you
cool
last
terms.
week. Yep.
I'm telling you, these are the ladies you want to hang out with. They're teaching me every time.
You're a good
Yeah.
student.
Thank you very much. And that reminds me, I know you guys in your respective roles have your own toolkits. I've heard Amy mention many times that she has lots of different tools in her toolkit. But one of the tools that I heard you mention at one point in Charlene's toolkit is some sort of a heat map around that. How do you
Sure.
approach that a little bit with your clients? I mean, not to get in too much into what Seacoast is up to, but I know that that's one of the areas that you probably click into first just to see.
Sure. So Seacoast specific, we do have a heat map. We work with a multitude of different industries across the board, but our heat map really helps us determine what playground we want to play in, right? Versus taking a client all the way down the path to be able to try secure financing and realizing that it's an industry that we may not necessarily have an appetite for. So, you know, one of the benefits to having that heat map is I can tell you right up front if it's an industry that I know we're gonna have an appetite for, that we're gonna be aggressive, that we really want to earn the relationship versus someone who, you know, we spend a week, 2 weeks trying to work on getting an approval only to find out that the industry doesn't fit in our appetite at this time. And that's always changing, right? So I'll give you an example. When COVID first hit, one of the greatest fears were daycares closed down. They weren't taking on any children in, right? So, and this is prior to PPP coming to the rescue. So without having any business coming in, of course, the bank immediately said, okay, now that's more of a high risk industry. Where today, we saw the daycares bounce back, and they bounced back with a vengeance. And so, you know, we took
We don't need to go through the list of reasons why. All
exactly.
us mothers in the room, we don't want to go through that
Yeah.
list.
So not talking about the baby boom, but daycares did bounce back.
There was that too.
There was that too. Daycares did bounce back, and they're an industry that we absolutely have an appetite for today. So, you know, really, it's going to be related on what's happening in the market, what's happening with the times. You know, the pandemic really changed a lot of people's way of thinking. And then, you know, 2008, 2009, it's still a reminder in the back of our minds of what could happen in the real estate environment if you're not cautious and you're not making smart decisions. And as a banker, it's my role and responsibility to educate business owners when they're getting into a piece of real estate and not put them in something that they can't afford, right? I want to lend money. That's my job. That's what I do. I want to put money out there on the street and help businesses achieve their dreams. But realistically, if I'm helping them buy something they can't afford, I'm really not helping them.
Yeah.
Amen to that.
And back to we're talking about the state of the office market.
Right.
One of the tools I have in my toolbox, and we didn't talk about it yet, is what's called a rent to revenue analysis. And so taking a look at, you know, where does your revenue lie, and making sure that a business owner can actually like afford their rent. So let's just say they're a $1 million a year, you know, business. They should be spending probably about 10% of their revenue on rent. And so that'd be about like $100,000 a year that you have, you know, at your disposal to pay for rent. Any more than that, you know, you don't want to end up being a business where you're just like in business to try to pay your rent. You know, because rent or your mortgage, that's your second biggest expense as a business owner. And it is a tool, it's an investment to make money. But if you don't have your ratios right, then you're gonna be, taking money from your marketing line item and the other areas of your business, and it's gonna really affect you in the long term. So we are, my firm is, we're not order takers. So someone comes to me, I want to get to know you and your business. And, sometimes I have to tell them that, you know what, like, let's look at a different option because this where you're at right now, can you add another line of business? You can't really afford this. So
I think that's actually a really great transition to go into our third topic for everybody today, which is really about positioning your portfolio, which is where Dana is the expert on. And I know that that is something that's near and dear to your heart, making sure that people are making the right investments for their families, for their futures. And so when it comes to this topic today, you're approached with a client trying to decide whether or not they want to finance a project like this or use cash. Where do you start with them?
Yeah, I'm gonna give a financial planner, attorney, CPA type of answer, which it really does depend. There is a place for both ways in your business, right? So it totally depends on your long game, on your business plan. Amy already walked through the concept of when rents are higher than what you can purchase, and get a mortgage for, paying that into the business and into your family over time is a fantastic strategy. If you're early on in your business, that might not be an opportunity, right? And it might not make sense. So I really do think that there are reasons why you would go in each direction. And if you're having a hard time figuring that out for your own small business, I'm just gonna sound like a broken record, and it's just time again to build out your team, because clearly that's what my role, that's what Charlene's role, that's what Amy's role can help you do, can help you figure out what's best for you and your business.
And some of the tools that the ladies mentioned a couple minutes ago, those are some of the early stages of getting to know your client and what they're going through. You're willing to do that in the early stages with somebody that's brand new. You have to get started somewhere. I know that you guys come from a place of giving value first. This is not about necessarily acquiring a client, but if we can't help you, pointing you in the right direction, you got to get started somewhere,
right.
Assembling that team. And if it's not a fit for you guys, I've already heard all three of you be very honest, you will let them know. But to get this team assembled is definitely the place to start, and starting to get these answers to.
Yeah, that's what I love about Charlene. If she's not the right fit, she's really transparent with my clients and will help to facilitate making sure that we're pointed in the right direction, because ultimately it's about getting the best result for the business owner, not necessarily. I think we all view success as helping other people to be successful,
Mm-hmm.
and it's really not so much about us. It's about getting the person to the place that they need to go.
It's so much more fun that way.
Yes,
It really is.
Agreed.
So Amy, and when it comes to cash versus financing, what are you seeing coming across your desk right now these days?
Well, if you're gonna do financing, of course, as far as making a offer on a commercial property, I'd recommend that people make it a non-contingent on financing offer, if possible, but already have done the underwriting ahead of time. That's one of my tools in my toolbox that I do to win offers, and so I think that gives sellers peace of mind, especially in a multiple offer situation, that they have someone that, even if they don't get financing, they will purchase and make it contemporaneous with the due diligence process. But you got to make sure that it's with, a lender that can give you that kind of security in doing that. And so I am seeing, it depends on the person's financial planner and their lender. Some people may put a little bit more skin in the game and put more money down. It just depends on their particular situation. But as far as office space is concerned, Seacoast could do as low as 15% down.
Actually, go as low as 10% with some of the programs that we have.
Yeah, so there is some opportunity to leave more money on the sidelines, in your account for your financial planner, or, kind of blend it all together. But, going ahead and using financing, there are some, tax advantages to doing that, being able to write that off. And also help to kind of mitigate your risk, and so that you can pursue also other opportunities and perhaps build a portfolio, which we'll continue to talk about portfolio. But if you put all your cash into one asset, then you are not providing yourself that opportunity.
What are you seeing, Charlene, as far as demand right now? What kind of office space is popular?
It's
What's on
really,
your desk right now?
it's really interesting. I'm seeing just a wide flux of demand, really. Quite a bit of medical space is desired. It's hard to find. It's hard to find anything that's already built out. So I've got a lot of
Yes.
folks that are going through the construction process. I'm actually seeing more construction deals now than I've seen in a long time. A lot of people aren't afraid to get back on the construction bandwagon and build something that caters to whatever their business need happens to be. Still seeing industrial, still seeing people trying to find space. They're having to go further out.
Yeah.
To be able to get anything, but really seeing a lot more construction deals coming across the table, which is, it's still exciting because construction deals help economies of scale build business. You're giving business to general contractors who are then giving it to subs. So that's exciting to see that we're still growing in Central Florida, but a lot of construction.
In medical, I think a couple
And
things
medical.
contributing to that are folks, flocking to Florida, number one, and then number two is, there's a lot less certainty.
Right.
And so perhaps people that were with some of these larger medical groups were on the fence about, leaving those big groups. I think they have a bit more certainty kind of going out, hanging their own shingle, starting their own practice, beginning their own group. And so, the medical inventory, it has been really gobbled up. And so you're having to create something new.
So if I were a small business owner and I were to see a property that I'm interested in, what's the step? How do I go about acquiring that when it becomes available, or how do I even know that it's available? How do you guys get started with that? Because I know that it's very competitive right now. How much cash would I need? Like, what's some of the first things to kind of calm my fears a little bit?
Sure. So the first thing I would tell you is if you're at all thinking or wondering if you can buy your own business or buy your own property, the first thing I would do is tell you, talk to your banker. Get your financials to your banker, have your banker review everything, make sure your balance sheet is strong, right? Like I said earlier, cash is king, so make sure you have a strong balance sheet. And you can get a pre-approval from a bank even without having identified a property.
Yes.
So make sure that you work on that. Your pre-approvals,
Okay.
you can take a contract, and Amy can attest to this, you take a contract to a seller with a pre-approval letter that shows that this buyer is qualified, they're
Yeah.
ready to close, their bank has fully underwritten and vetted them. You're most likely gonna get that contract signed a lot quicker than if you don't already have that pre-approval. So start with your banker, work, and I would also say, work with your financial advisor. Get with your
Yes.
financial advisor to figure out how much money should I put down? Should I liquidate one asset to be able to purchase another? So what's your advice on that? And collaboratively, once you have that pre-approval, is then when I would, if it was someone coming to me, then I would bring Amy into the conversation to say, look, here's a qualified buyer, ready to go. Happy hunting.
Yeah, never, ever, one of the biggest mistakes I see business owners do is they rush out before they've gotten their ducks in a row to go see properties. And a lot of these owners reps are owner reps on lots of different properties, and you don't want to send off the wrong impression that you are not prepared, because then, when you come back around, when you're prepared, it's almost like the boy that cried wolf. And are they really gonna, believe you and take you seriously? So I wouldn't recommend going out to market until you have things prepared. In fact, that's just, we won't do that. We don't want you to fall in love with something that you're not ready to, close on. We want to have your consortium on and then that way you're going to get a much more competitive price, if and it's going to be much more powerful, and we're going to get you a better result when it's all put together correctly.
So, and I know that that's been a theme. Obviously, it's kind of a cool visual that you guys are all around the corner, but really when it comes to timing, Dana, when is it the right time, like really, for a small business owner to get this going?
Sure, it really is, the sooner the better.
Really?
At any point that either your client or you yourself as a business owner is ready to start taking this step, that's when you should be building out your team. We will provide value from the moment that you engage us. And again, you got into business to do whatever it is that your business does. It's not that you are an expert in finance or that you're an expert in all of the other things that it takes to be a business owner. So engage your team, build out your team, the sooner the better.
And it just lightens your load. You know, me as a business owner myself, I mean, why carry all this when you can have some other people helping you out, giving you a different perspective?
Diversifying your portfolio while you're focusing on what you started out to do, whatever that business dream was, you can super focus on it and let your team, whether it's the three of you wonderful ladies or really anybody that they engage from a place of giving value, that's the first place to start. Are they willing to start working with you without too much jumping through hoops, contracts being signed, anything like that? Are they willing to jump in and start helping you right away, getting some of the beginning questions answered? I know that that's where you guys would love to get started with somebody. So I know from being a small business owner, I would imagine that we sometimes are a little nervous to over engage you guys too soon. And so we kind of start here, start there, instead of really just assembling the team. What you guys are recommending to do is just get it together, start vetting out the right partners for who should be around your table, and start doing that today.
I just enjoy meeting people, learning about them, learning about their business. And so, you know, even again, there's not a commercial real estate opportunity around the corner, but I understand like what they do. Perhaps I have people to connect them to. You know, I had a logistics company, I was able to connect them with somebody else, you know, an attorney for immigration. I was like, oh, I know this other person that needs someone. We're pretty all involved with the community and can help the business owner to connect to other people and help them, you know, even if we don't have something immediately for us to work on.
I think that's actually a really great segue to close up our session.
Yeah.
We love meeting people. We want to meet you guys. If you guys need help, we would love to help in any way that we can. To that end, we're going to make this recording available pretty immediately after this. So you might even have it coming to your email here today or tomorrow, so that it's right there at your fingertips in your inbox. If you want to share it with somebody, sure. We love going viral. We're fine to go viral, aren't we, ladies? But while we're still here together, any questions on the line? We might as well hang out if you guys are open to it, to see if we have any questions. I know I have one from one of our participants here. And anybody else, if you have any questions, feel free to
put it in the chat box.
For sure. Yeah, definitely use the chat box for any questions, but then feel free, of course, to reach back out to these ladies should you have any questions in the future. Be on the lookout for a recording coming your way. One of the questions that I got was from somebody kind of starting off in their small business right now, getting their feet wet in this area, and not sure if they should fully get totally invested in this project because it just may not be the right time. So hey, Amy, how would you handle somebody who's kind of, everything is new right now? Maybe they're doing a startup and so it's a lot going on right now, but this is an important time and an important area of, as we've already mentioned, diversifying their portfolio. Is there a way that you would go about kind of hand holding somebody into this process?
Yeah, so when a lot of businesses are in their infancy, they don't have a lot of extra cash available. So often what I will do for folks who are a startup or maybe just a few years in without a lot of capital at their disposal is put them in more of a class B or C level space, but then let's amenitize it, make it really nice, make it a tool to attract other employees, make it a tool to make you money, so that you can get to the next step, whether you want to elevate to being more in the central business district with a variety of different places for your employees to go to. And some of those buildings have gyms, and make it make it a great, make it an even better experience. I consider both your space and your people to be the most important investments in your business that will reap dividends for you. So typically, let's not go to the most expensive space possible. Let's keep your rent to revenue ratios in check. Let's throw some extra cash. Let's start putting some aside also in case you get to a point where you're more stable in your growth and that you can make that leap to invest in a property to purchase.
And you, that's kind of like a two-step, if you will. You've
Yeah.
done that before in your,
Yeah.
in your world, in your own business.
I did it in my own business, and so, yeah, just even in my own business, I was at a stage where I did not quite have the amount of money, had to do another extension of my lease, but then the right opportunity, became available, and been able to use it as a tool to generate wealth for my family.
We've got another question here. Somebody who would like to stay anonymous, which is totally fine. They would like to know, what is the most important word of advice or an important takeaway that you would give a business owner from this webinar, whether or not they're established right now?
Let's let you guys, I've been talking
I'll
way
take
too
that
much.
one.
There you go.
I think it's build your team. I mean, I don't know if how many times I said it in our hour together, but really, you have to have a team around you as a business owner. We want to give advice. It's literally what we do. Conversations are free. We will tell you when we're not the right partner for you. And that's majority of professionals out there. But even still in that 15-minute conversation or 30-minute conversation or even a few sessions, you're still going to walk away with so much, just advice and knowledge. And so that would be really my takeaway is if you don't have a team, start building it. It very well could be these types of professionals around. It could be a business attorney, for sure. It's a CPA, and you just have to figure out who the right players are for you and your business and where you are in your business.
And even being in some mastermind groups with other business owners, I've seen be profound for other business owners, and they have the opportunity to synergize with other business owners. Reading the book E-Myth is a great book to read, and building your team internally, externally, so that you who are generally, if you're the business owner, you're a bit of a visionary, and you need to really offload that to you so that you can focus on the business and then eventually focus on building a portfolio for you and your family.
So, and I'll add to that just one last piece, and Shannon's been very humble because she's been
Yeah.
hosting the call.
Oh, yes.
But adding, having a business like Shannon's Grow or Die, a consultation business that can come in and look at it with a whole different perspective and a whole different view is just, it adds tremendous value, I mean,
Yes.
having your team together that can look at things from a very different perspective. They're getting out of the way, right? Because the business owner a lot of times just can't get out of their own way.
Yep.
And they get it stuck in their head that this is the path they need to go down without realizing that it's leading them to a dead end. It's not going to continue to help their trajectory of growth. So just making sure that you have the right people around the table that care about your business and really want your business to grow
Mhm.
is absolutely essential.
Thank you
She's
for that.
blushing.
I totally am. I'll go to camera and I'll show you the blush. It's there. Not a whole lot of makeup. It was there earlier, but where's it going? Thank you, ladies, for your hour. Thank you guys for making yourselves available to work on your business. That's what you just did for this last hour or so, is to carve out some time to work on your business. That's a big deal. That's a W. You get to put that as a check mark in your list of things to do today. You worked on your business by spending this hour with us. We're going to do this again. Ladies, you want to do this again?
Yeah,
Let's do this again. We'll come up with some more topics. We'll make sure to reach out to you guys, and we will make the recording available to you pretty soon after this this session closes. Thank you guys for being here today. You'll be hearing from us soon. Let us know how we can help. Bye, guys.
Right.